Johnny, to that. Good afternoon.
Is he going to play Jesus and come back in 3 days?
So you think Johnny's the next ad might have him playing Jesus?
Well, I'm interpreting it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, this ad offends you.
Excuse me?
Does this ad offend you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Offend other people, but, nothing you show on cable, your news channel offends me.
All right. Well, that's the first. Hello, you on the air?
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah.
I just want to say something. I think Johnny Robertson's gone too far. I had colon cancer in March, and the Church of Christ over on Irish Lane, the preacher, prayed for me, come to my house, prayed for me 3 days every week before I went. And they took out a foot of my colon, a gallbladder, a part of my big large intestine, and my appendix. And God pulled me through it by his prayers. And I thank God that I had people praying for me because I didn't know about that I was going to make it. And I think Johnny's wrong. And there's something else I want to tell you while I've got you on here.
All right.
All these people out here always talking about, I'm getting upset. But all these people out here always talking about prejudice.
Yeah.
What are they going to do when we get to heaven and we look up and we got a black man look at us and say, I'm Jesus. You didn't know me when I was on the earth. You was on the earth. Go back to where you come from. What do you think about that?
All right.
Yeah, I think Johnny's wrong.
All right. Most people have called today that think this is not a good ad. Hello, what do you think?
Hey, Charles.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, it's Jackie Ray. How you doing?
Jackie Ray, you going to weigh in on this ad?
Oh, absolutely. I told y'all a long time ago this man's crazy. What more proof do you need?
So the commercial makes you...
Yeah, for anybody that's had somebody that's died in their family, a friend, or a loved one, this is nothing to make light on. I had a brother that passed away, and we had, people see him laying a corpse or whatever. It's not funny. And they don't believe in miracles either. They said they don't believe in miracles. That people can still be raised from the dead. I mean, I ain't never seen nobody raised from the dead or anything like that. But I know that the Bible says my Lord Jesus Christ was the same yesterday, today, and forever. And if he wants to raise somebody from the dead, he can certainly do it. But this is making light of people that's died and went on before, and everybody's got a family member, friend, or anybody. I'm telling you what. Hey, look, I done told y'all time after time again, Johnny Robertson and that gang is crazy. If this don't prove it, nothing else does. Yeah, and he knows he's crazy. I really would like to make a suggestion to him because he's still listening, I'm sure. Go see a psychiatrist. They do have help out there for you.
You really think he's nuts?
Nuts? Think? I don't think that, and I know he is.
I mean, you don't think that this is a little creative from a standpoint of trying to get a message out? I mean, obviously, it's already getting a lot of attention.
I wouldn't do nothing like this. I wouldn't do nothing like it. To me, it's sickening. To me, it's sickening.
I do know that...
That preacher down at Providence Road, in my opinion, ain't no worse off than he is. Okay, Charles, I'll let you take some more callers.
Oh, me. Okay. Hello?
Charles.
Yes.
I admire Johnny Robertson myself for coming on and acting like a gentleman. Because the people are calling in and criticizing him, and he's got a right to say what he wants to say.
Yeah.
And they wish he was dead, and if he was dead, he would be better off than the ones that's calling in and being so rude.
Johnny Robertson gets a lot of negative calls from time to time.
So what? If he believes that way, that's his belief. Other people calling in criticizing him, if they don't believe how he believes, that's their business. He's not making them believe the way he does.
I mean, have you ever seen a preacher like Johnny Robertson, though?
Huh?
Have you ever seen a preacher like Johnny Robertson? Have you ever seen...
Not really, but maybe we need to see something different. Charles, if he believes that, it's his belief. But the people calling in wishing he was dead, and God might strike them dead.
Okay.
Johnny Robertson did come on and say he wished somebody was dead.
Yeah, I never will forget that show when we had a man call in and say it. I mean, I was shocked.
They said what?
There was a man who called in on this show, on this very set, called in and said, "I hope you die." And then within like 5 minutes after that, he called in and apologized.
The Lord can strike him dead, and I hope he's listening to me.
All right.
If I had his cell phone number, I'd try to. And this last guy that called it Jackie Ray, he sounds like that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He said he needs Johnny Robertson needs a psychiatrist, well, I think he needs one.
All right. Appreciate your call. We're going to take a break. We've got new video when we come back from the commercial. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but my producers say new video coming right after the commercial. Stay with us. And then we got a little bit of a weird video coming up. It's apparently off of Johnny Robertson's Ustream account. And, of course, Robertson is Johnny Robertson is kind of like a BT analyst. He analyzes BTW all the time, and they're always trying to get questions and answers out of the owners of BTW. Today, they confronted Chad Hall.
We're both have hoodies when we're the street gang at the end of the recital.
That'll be good.
Yeah, we are.
All right, see you.
Hi, is it Chad?
Yep, Chad.
All right, Chad, my name is Caleb Robertson.
Nice to meet you, dude.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing? Yeah, could I ask you a question real quick?
I guess so.
All right, well, I noticed your truck had BTW, so I wanted to ask you a question. How does BTW justify having someone like Jamie Singleton?
Man, I ain't doing that.
But it's a religious broadcasting network, and you have someone like Jamie Singleton who's displaying his private parts all over the internet for someone to see. Now, is that really giving the religious attitude that we should have? Do you not have a comment about it? You're live on the internet right now. You don't want to say anything about Jamie Singleton?
Come on, son. Okay. Come on.
No comment? I think that it's wrong for a religious broadcast to have someone like that who would do such a perverted act. I really don't see how you could agree with it and put it on your religious network. You
Have a good day, buddy.
All right, I hope you do too.
Day. Anyhow, that's a video that we found on the internet. There with one of the representatives of the Church of Christ there with Chad Hall. And anyhow, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, Charles, look, I won't take but a second of your time. You know, I'm calling in defense of myself a while ago. That lady that called in and said, it sounded like I need to see a psychiatrist. I'm going to go ahead and let her know ahead of time. I'm very open and honest about everything. I already go see a psychiatrist. So if she wants to call back in and leave you her name and her address or whatever, I'll get it from you, and I'll even give her a list of my medications I'm on because I'm not ashamed of nothing. At least I'm trying to get some help, and I'll refer to her. She might need to do the same thing. And follows to Johnny Robertson. Hey, look, I'll refer them to some good places if they'll just get in touch with me.
Well, let me ask something. I mean, what do you get out of a psychiatrist?
What do you get out of the psychiatrist?
Right.
Medications, mostly. There ain't nothing they can tell me verbally that will really help me do things. Because what they tell you, you already know. But you can't write yourself prescriptions.
So you can
go out here on the street and buy drugs from people, all kinds of stuff. But
so wait a minute.
To do that, I get mine legally. I get mine through the Veterans Administration.
You go to the psychiatrist just to get the meds?
Huh?
You go to the psychiatrist just to get the meds?
Just to get them?
Yeah.
No, but you have to. No, that's what. Well, look, I'm telling you what. If I wasn't on my medication, I'd be in the flip mode, and I'm not going to let that happen. I'm a better person than that. So what I'm saying is that she called me and run a mile saying I need to go see a psychiatrist. I wanted to call back and rectify the situation, let her know. No, it doesn't. I don't sound like I need to go to one. I already go to one. And if she wants to know who it is, I'll tell her.
Who's that?
Find out about herself because that's HIPAA violations. God bless her. Tell her I'm glad she's worried about me, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
All right. How about that? Doing it for the meds. That's interesting. 656-2255 as we're taking your calls. We're talking about this latest Johnny Robertson ad that
hey, folks. You're on live with me, Johnny Robertson. It's Wednesday night. We're in Martinsville, Virginia. We're broadcasting on Channel 18 as we always do, Channel 18, on Wednesday night, 9 p.m., reaching out into this entire county and over the air antenna. I have no idea how far the antenna goes, but I know that we get calls from everywhere in this area. And then tomorrow night, Caleb will be on the what I call the flagship station, WGSR. He'll be going into North Carolina and Virginia, 5 counties in both states, and it is very good layout. And so we're very thankful to have this opportunity to, be in your living room, be in your car with you if you're driving home. It is Wednesday night, you may be driving home. And one of the things that we're doing here tonight is we are looking into the Church of Christ. Now, I need to set up just for a minute. This is a broadcast that Caleb did Thursday night. I believe it was Thursday night. It could have been Sunday night. I get some of this jumbled up because we have so many broadcasts going on. And Caleb and I both do local work. We go out and visit. We talk to people all over the United States. We field YouTube comments. We field our comments off of our YouTube, which are tremendous individuals talking about the things that we're doing. And so he was talking about the FHU lectureship. And for those of you who are in the Church of Christ, you know exactly what that is. And he was basically giving a thumbs up to Milton Sewell. I believe they have a Milton Sewell appreciation this year at FHU. The lectures are going on right now. This could be the last night, maybe tomorrow night's the last night. And so what we want to do is we want to enable you to be a participant in what's going on in the body of Christ, the Church of Christ that you read about in the Bible. And, there are a lot of people that think that we really should not be talking about things like this. And for those individuals, I want to give you a look right quick. Let's see. Let me see. 6. Just basically looking at certain things that I have on my slide presentation, and I realize that I am in a different mode. So here I go. That was off of the internet. I apologize. I was letting you see Caleb's last show. Now, what I want to show you tonight is we have individuals that think that there is something wrong with allowing you to know what's going on in the Church of Christ. The Church of Christ is an extremely well-known group of Christian individuals. We're all over the United States, predominant in Tennessee, Texas, Alabama, Florida, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Indiana particularly. There are lots of churches of Christ. And so we're all over the United States, but I'm just saying there are great parts of the United States where they are very, very predominant. Here in Virginia, not so much. That's one of the reasons I live in Virginia. And so what I want you to see, what I want to begin with is I want to be able to give you an answer to your friends who happen to be members of the Church of Christ. And I want you to have an answer as to why it is okay for me to do what I'm doing tonight, and that is be on YouTube simulcast. We're on television, but we're also simulcasting into YouTube. So that means not just Virginia, not just Henry County. That's not the only people that are hearing this, but people all over the nation are hearing this. And, that you might be being told, a preacher over in Kentucky at Lebanon Junction told me that you're not supposed to talk about anything that's going on inside the Church of Christ. Well, if you did that, what will happen? Individuals will think that the deadbeats, the ungodly members of the Church of Christ, are actually okay if we don't talk about what goes on inside the Church of Christ. Guess what? We have ungodly people in the Church of Christ. We have people that need to repent. We have people that are living all kinds of lies and hypocrisy. And so if we don't tell you about our own behavior, then you're going to get the opinion of us based upon which member of the Church of Christ you happen to know. And so if you hear me talking, you'll actually hear somebody who says, we got all kinds of problems in the Church of Christ. So did the Church of Christ in the New Testament. All you have to do is look at 1 Corinthians, and that's what I told this individual. But tonight, I'm just going to deal with it this way. This is a book entitled The Christian Scholar. It was published in 1985. Adrian Doran wrote the book. J.E. Choate edited, put it into print, and it is a tremendous story about things that happened around the turn of the century, not 2000, but 1900. In 1900, do you realize that things were going on that ended up making national news with the Church of Christ? Yes, that's right. And it's documented in this book. And you need to read this book if you do not think that what we're doing right now is serious. It is very serious. This chapter is entitled Firestorm in the Bluegrass. Now, one of the reasons that I have this up is not just what I was saying just now, but I am also wanting you to actually realize the power of one. The first salvo of the Battle of the Book that shook College of the Bible for 200 days was fired on the last days of March by a student named Benjamin F. Battenfield. A circular letter was mailed by Battenfield on March 12, 1917, approximately 300 Christian ministers and disciples. The letter, let me see if I can get this just a little bit closer so I can see it, precipitated the fundamentalism modernism controversy that racked the College of the Bible during the spring and summer of that year. Now, one guy wrote a letter about the College of the Bible in Lexington, Kentucky, and the fact that liberals had taken it over and they were teaching evolution, they were denying the inspiration of the Bible, and one student basically said, you know what, enough is enough. And he wrote a letter to 300 different people, and as a result, we just heard this 200 days in that particular time frame, March 12, 1917. Well, what does that mean? It means Brotherhood Papers took this up and published the events associated with this college and the ensuing battle in this college over these professors who had taken over the college that was actually built upon sound principles by men like J.W. McGarvey and others. You may not recognize who J.W. McGarvey is. And as a result of this, it really set the stage for a tremendous amount of individuals learning the truth about what was going on between a group of individuals in the Church of Christ that were known as the Christian church. Why am I saying it that way? Because the split had not taken place. And so what I now would like for you to see is after that situation in 1917, you end up, you literally get to see things that were taking place prior to that. Well, what was taking place? This battle that was going on in 1917 is actually something that happened after a census was taken in the United States associated with the split between the Christian church and the Church of Christ. That's why I'm saying it that way on this particular slide, because there was a division. Look at this. Though he did not say so, the Newbern lawsuit confirmed Lipscomb's belief that the division in the ranks of the disciples had become an established fact. The church split in 1903 in Henderson over the Oregon was a local matter and created, I can't see what I actually have there on the side. Let me see. It limited attention. The Newbern trial was another matter. So basically, the Oregon, which is basically a piano, is what we're talking about. The Oregon came to Henderson, Tennessee in 1903. It created a small stir, and then they had a trial that ended up dictating who's going to get property of certain buildings as a result of the organ, the instrumental music, mechanical music being entered in. And as a result of that, what you end up having is David Lipscomb ends up talking to S.D.N. North, who was the director of the Bureau of the United States. Let's see what this says down here. Census Department. So the census ends up being taken in 1906, and the Church of Christ and the Christian church are listed separately. Now, here, what was my point? Individuals who say that the things that go on in the Church of Christ should not be made public. What in the world are you talking about? In 1906, the census in the United States having to do with people's religious affiliation, people who were in the Church of Christ were listed separately from the people that were listed in the Christian church. In other words, there were two affiliations that you could choose if you happened to be involved in this split. And the Newbern trial there were like 5,000 different separate situations where people were brought in and they were questioned by a judge in order to make the case as to who's going to get property in these ensuing battles between the Christian church and the Church of Christ. Affidavits is what I was looking at. Over 5,000 different affidavits. Now, that's a lot of attention. Now, here's the question. Would you want people to know what's going on, or did you just want people saying, man, those folk in the Church of Christ, they done lost their mind. Those folk in the Christian church, you get to make up your story, and depending on who you're talking to. That's not what we want. We want individuals to be able to see what is really going on. And so that's what I'm doing tonight, is I am, in fact, talking about these different things so that you can see what's going on. Well, what do you mean, what's going on? Well, here's what's going on. FHU is having their lectureship, as I said, and we are seeing a change in the guard. What does that mean? A change in the guard. We are seeing individuals that have never been on the freed lectureship. Now, I want you to remember to put this together in your head. 1903, the organ came to Henderson. There it is right there in the Christian Scholar. It's the documentation of the life of Calhoun, who was a preacher during that time frame. And the organ ends up being the matter that split the Church of Christ from the Christian church, because the two that were together, people said them simultaneously. Disciples, they were called. Church of Christ, they were called. Christian church, they were called. They were all together, and then this split occurs. The organ came to Henderson, Tennessee in 1903. Guess what? The same group that wants the organ is in Henderson, Tennessee in 2023. How about that? In 2023, the organ has come back to Henderson, Tennessee, where the college is located, FHU. Lectureships are going on right now. That is what we're talking about. Now, tonight, I have to tell you that this is a difficult procedure for us. What does that mean? Well, it was a difficult procedure for these individuals too. If you're noting here, it's when we do green against green, it ends up being difficult to see. In this book, The Christian Scholar, it was very difficult for these individuals that went through this. David Lipscomb, for instance, was the editor of Gospel Advocate, and he did not want to be deposed. Deposition was the word I was looking for a while ago. He did not want to be deposed. He did not want to be involved in the division. He had a paper, Gospel Advocate. He was writing about it. Next thing you know, he finds himself in front of a judge, and he's being deposed. And so it is difficult. It was difficult for them, and that's what happens when things change. It is difficult. So here we are, and we're putting out shows that are giving people a chance to see what's going on so that they don't be in the dark. Do you want to know what's going on at Freed? Do you want to know whether or not you should send your children there? Do you want to know if you ought to change some of your plans? A very expensive school. Do you want to know, what is all of the noise about? Or do you just want to stay in the dark? I would hope that people do not want to stay in the dark. So this is basically my job. I am talking to everybody that I know and individuals with whom I find myself in a work with. Now, when I say I'm in a work with them, that doesn't mean that I'm participating in the work that they're in. What I'm telling you is I was basically the beginning element of the work. Then the other individual entered in, and now I'm out. And, I want him to know that I don't want him to be involving a person that basically learned the truth through our broadcast. He was helped to obey the gospel through our broadcast. And we began helping him to separate himself from all of his Baptist associates and to build up an association in the Lord's church and began to work over in Tennessee. Well, another individual gets involved. I'm basically on the outside now, but I'm willing to tell this individual what's going on. So I send a text. Hey, Todd, Check out the man David Shannon has at the Mid-South Youth Camp teaching young people at FHU Lectures 2023. And then I give him a link to a YouTube video. Well, notice what I get back. Notice the text. Unknown sender, he texts me back and he says, unknown sender, area code 276, ... Virginia, period. Just talking with a young friend about the Robertson cult yesterday. Coincidence? I think not. That's this man's response. I have never spoken to this man before. I have not been involved with him personally, but he is involved with somebody that I care about. I care about him, as a matter of fact. He is involved with somebody that I have had energy, effort put into, helped him find his way out of the Baptist church, happens to be a pastor, former pastor, helped him find his way out of the Baptist church, and now this gentleman is involved with him, and look what he's calling me. I did not know this. I didn't know that he was calling me a cult. I didn't know he was saying that the Robertsons are a cult. So, I basically find out, as a result of sending him this text, I find out that the person with whom I was associated with, the man that I helped out of the Baptist church, is actually involved with somebody that is making me out to be a cult. Now, it's basically right here that I bring you to this. Exodus 34:9. In Exodus 34, this was our exhortation tonight in the assembly in Martinsville. Caleb was talking to the congregation tonight, and he brought up Exodus 34:9. In Exodus 34, the context is God and Moses and the giving of the blessings and the covenant associated with the Ten Commandments and the rest of the laws. And in verse 34, this is basically what is said. And he said, this would be Moses, if I have found grace in thy sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray thee, go among us, for it is a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance. And then God and Moses talk about the covenant. Now, can I say this? If I am talking about somebody who is a stiff-necked individual, is there anything wrong with that? I mean, if I conclude after I sent this text, I didn't know that my phone actually didn't give my name. Normally when I make a phone call, I expect that it says Johnny Robertson. I didn't block the number. And so, a lot of times I call people and they say right away, hey, Johnny, they maybe never talked to me, see me on YouTube or whatever. I thought my phone always dished up my name and number. A lot of people that call me, they're not in my contacts, and I can tell who it is, even though they've never talked to me before. So I had no idea that it was an unknown text, an unknown sender, but he basically knew that it was a Virginia number. I don't know how he knew that unless he looked it up. This all happened pretty quick. And then I find out that he is telling people, he's saying to me that I am a cult. Now, how should I feel about that? If I say that he is to me appearing as a stiff-necked individual, why would he do this? What have I done that would cause him to act in this fashion and label me as a cult? I don't know in particular, but I'm just saying, is it okay if I actually consider him to be a stiff-necked individual and at the same time ask God to help us with this? If I found grace in thy sight, O Lord, let the Lord, I pray thee, go amongst us, for he is a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance. That's how I feel about this guy. I don't feel just this one word. I'm basically saying, I hope God has mercy and grace on all of these individuals while they're in their iniquity and sin, and I am trying to help them out. Now, listen, folks, I could bring up just a litany of individuals, a list of individuals that would tell you that Johnny Robertson or Caleb Robertson, somebody from the congregations that we work with in this area and our congregations that we have been involved with helping get started in Manchester, Tennessee, the Red Oak Church of Christ there. James Kazi is preaching over there. The congregation that is in Maryland, help me out. In Waldorf, Maryland, Keith Jr. and Sr. Working there, McNair's, individuals like that, and individuals over in Arkansas, in Quitman, people in Arkansas close to Fort Smith. I could just go on and on with individuals that we're working with. In Houston, Ralph Fisher. These individuals, these are just a handful of people that I'm listing because those are congregations that we're involved in the planting of these congregations. They would tell you, Johnny will drive miles and miles and miles and miles, take up his time across 4, 5, 6 states. You could even call some people that don't like me, like you could call Joe Brothers. Even people who don't necessarily like me will tell you that I would drive 800 miles one way to see them. Why? Because they're saying, now Joe's never said this about me, but I'm saying he's hearing things and he thinks that there's something wrong with me. And so I happen to be involved with somebody he's involved with, and I'm willing to go down and say, hey, Brother Joe, what's up? And we talk. Went there twice in a month's period. Now, I have every right to be this kind of person, just like Moses was, asking for God's mercy and grace. And you know, when you're asking God to have mercy and grace and mercy towards a person, it's, in my opinion, for me, for Johnny Robertson, it's like me praying for my daily bread. Guess what? Then I have to go out and participate in making the daily bread happen. I pray for my daily bread, Matthew chapter 6, but I also make the effort to make sure that I don't starve to death based upon the fact that I'm sitting waiting on God to send down manna, which He's not going to do. Same thing with these folk. I am actively involved in trying to help them with the problems that they're having. And tonight we are definitely going to demonstrate that it is a problem that they're having. Now, what I want to do is I want to ask you, this is members of the Church of Christ, what is your plan? I'm saying for the young people, because this is what this is about pretty much. We're talking about colleges, freshman class in particular. What is your plan? What do you mean the plan? More money. That is exactly what we're talking about. Now, let me give you a college president online, and he is actually talking about the predicament associated with being a college president. Take a listen. His name is Kirk Brothers.
Constantly raising funds, constantly looking for money. Every year I'm raising $2.5 million. Constantly looking for money. Every year I'm raising $2.5 million. But God has consistently worked that out. Constantly looking for money. Every year I'm raising $2.5 million.
Kirk Brothers is over the college. He's president of the college in Alabama. It's called Heritage. And he is actually talking about the fact that he is in better shape than people like Freed because they have to raise a lot more money than he has to raise because he is basically only prepping people for preaching. Now, I'm asking the question, what's the plan? Why is it that people are having so much difficulty? Why are the colleges having so much of a difficulty? Well, I believe the reason they're having this is because they are actually looking for money to solve their problems, and they're looking in places like Pepperdine, which is a college over in California, Malibu, and they're looking to people like that to solve their problems. And I would say, how about more Bible? How about if you taught more Bible? And if you taught more Bible, and by the way, Kirk Brothers was actually coming to the conclusion during COVID that his school had probably, let's see if I remember his number, 10 times the participation online than he did with people coming to the school. Now, if he put out some quality information, we have a school going online. We have an average of 400 individuals that participate in the broadcast on Wednesday morning with Caleb right now. Caleb is doing from 10 to noon, 2 hours going through the Bible. We're now in Kings and Chronicles, and just Caleb introduced the prophets that go with them, and we're not waiting till the end of Kings and Chronicles to do the prophets like some people do. We're going to insert the prophets where they go so that you will be up on where they actually are, who they're talking to, and you won't be over here reading something that has nothing to do with anything because you spent all this time staying on, like as the Bible is laid out in its own order. That's not the chronological order. And so you end up studying from Kings and Chronicles, and first thing you know, you're basically in the wisdom literature, and man, that's a lot. Psalms got, you were talking about 150 chapters there. So I'm saying, why not do away with some of that, some of the overhead, some of the brick and mortar? It's just an idea, because the one y'all are working, it's not working. So what are we saying then? So tonight, I am trying to get your attention in regard to what is going on. And now I'm going to talk to you about the particular plans that individuals have and that they're using. And, it is kind of difficult to have a broadcast that I know that people that are not members of the Church of Christ, you're watching this. And so some of this that I'm talking, it's like code when I say FHU or Freed College in Henderson and things of that nature. And I'm just basically saying, this is your chance to actually get a little bit of information. You can look this up online. You can find out what's going on. And so what I'm actually showing at this point is that individuals, in order to save their colleges and build up their freshman class, are doing things just like they were doing in this book, The Christian Scholar. They're using individuals who don't even believe in the inspiration of the Bible, believe in theistic evolution, they believe in having mechanical instruments of music, and you probably are saying, no, that's just not possible, that could actually be going on in the churches of Christ, especially with the college out in Henderson, Tennessee. And what I want to basically do is just give you a chance to look at the trail and see what you basically think. Now, here we go. Here's the trail. Freed, Winterfest, Love Fest. What does that mean? I'm saying these guys are in love with Winterfest. And Winterfest, who is Winterfest? Well, that's what you really need to know. In 2018, Freed Hardeman University, this is their Facebook. In 2018, David Shannon, right down here in the bottom, and crew, they put up on their Facebook, Freed Hardeman's official Facebook, said, Winterfest bound, come see if you're in Gatlinburg this weekend. Now, what is Winterfest and who is involved with Winterfest? Here you go. This is Winterfest in 2018. Now, I have on the screen Steve Maxwell, and I realize that I moved some of that around, so just give me a second. We're dealing with a lot of material here. I'm just going to move this out of the way because it's going to be bugging me all the way through it. So here we go. Who is Winterfest? Here we are back. Winterfest takes place in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in the first of the year, so now around the first of the year. I'm not going to advertise for these folks. But on this particular instance, you basically have Stephen Maxwell, you have Jeff and Taylor Walling, you have down here, let me make it bigger for you, you actually have David Skidmore, and I want to make sure that you get to see this. Now, we're only talking about 4 names here. We're talking about Jeff and Taylor Walling. That's not his wife. Jeff and Taylor, father, son. We're talking about David Skidmore and Stephen Maxwell. Why do we need to talk about these individuals? Because David Shannon in 2018 basically said, we're on our way to Winterfest. Well, who was there? These are the individuals that were there. Now, what is it, Johnny, that you're going to show us? Well, I'm basically going to show you the individuals that we're looking at. Now, I need to disappear here in order to work this out in a timely fashion. What you're looking at right there, where my cursor is you're looking at a clip from the theme song for Winterfest 2018. Look what you have. You basically have people up on stage performing at the North Atlanta Church of Christ, where Stephen Maxwell is in charge of the band, you might as well just say, they call it worship team and all kinds of things like that. He is a founding co-founder of Acapella, which is a vocal group that's home is in Oklahoma Christian University and regularly goes to places like Winterfest and Pepperdine lectures. So what do you say? You see these instruments up here? I'm going to have to move this up. Let me just see how that is going to work given our lower third. So I'll just move it up manually and you'll be able to see the instruments here. Look at this. And you might say, you know, Johnny, this is quite difficult for us to stay with. It's not really that difficult. I'm trying to bring in a lot of things at the same time. You see those instruments up there on the stage? Those drums, you know, that's, somebody might say, this is a school auditorium and they're renting it. And, you know, that's from the band at school. That's not from the band. This is North Atlanta Church of Christ. This is Stephen Maxwell himself, and that is men and women up in front of the congregation, and they're performing. Well, what's up with that? Well, what is it that they're doing? Well, that is actually them practicing or playing a theme song for Winterfest 2018. And David Shannon? Seriously? David Shannon is going to Winterfest and inviting people to go to Winterfest and meet us at Winterfest in 2018? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Well, so what about this Taylor Walling guy? Okay, now, you know, I'm going to be talking to some people that you're probably not going to know this, but you need to. There is or was a Church of Christ located in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It was called the North Richland Hills Church of Christ. Today, it is just simply the Hills. That is Taylor Walling, and he is a teaching minister at the Hills. No longer called the Church of Christ. Got a big-time band, mechanical music everywhere, Pepperdine all the time. They got some individuals that are on their staff. Rick, actually, that you can see anytime at Pepperdine. And this is the kind of individual, Taylor Walling, that's the individual that is, in fact, at 2018 Winterfest. Now, let's do just a little bit of, let me go a little bit further with this. Now, I mentioned also, remember, David Skidmore. Let's don't forget David Skidmore. Here he is right here. Who is David Skidmore? Okay, here we go. This is a clip of David Skidmore and also a clip of Jeff Walling and what he will do with our children. Are you ready? Take a look.
There are youth ministers that I just marvel at. And our last presenter today is one of them. David Skidmore has served as a youth minister at the North Boulevard Church of Christ in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for, I want to say a couple of decades. He's been in youth ministry for a quarter of a century. And yet David is such a Renaissance man. You will see
our groups. I don't care how long.
Let's analyze here. That's Jeff Walling. What's the website? The website is Pepperdine Church Relations, Pepperdine Youth Ministry Network Zoom. And who is he talking about? He's talking about David Skidmore. Well, who is David Skidmore to them? Well, he's one of the youth ministers in the network. When Winterfest is going on, David Skidmore is there with Jeff Walling, Taylor Walling, who is teaching minister, preaching minister over at North Richland Hills, used to be the Hills now, just basically a sectarian group, just like the denominations all around him. And they're all together. And David Shannon is out there with kids. Yeah. I mean, that was their advertisement. I didn't put that out there. That's Freed Hardeman's official page, and that is David Shannon. You don't know David Shannon is what I'm trying to tell you. What are we doing? The plan. Why not get better teachers? Why not get better teachers and you won't have to worry about linking yourself up with all of these individuals who have totally left, just like here in the 1900s, 1903, the organ came to Henderson, Tennessee, and split the church. In 2023, the people who are using the organ and everything else came to Henderson, Tennessee again. 2023, they're there. That's what we're talking about. We're actually looking at the trail of how did they get there, because this is 2018 that we're looking at. But I want to make sure that you get all the players, make sure that you get what we're doing here with David Skidmore. Now watch this video. This is Jeff Walling. He is introducing David Skidmore. Here comes David Skidmore.
I just marvel at.
You can see that on your screen. It says Jeff Walling, Pepperdine University. You can see that this is a website that they run, Pepperdine Church Relations. It is the Youth Minister Network in 2020. Now you might say, well, 2020, it's 2023. Well, are they still together? They're still together. Look at this. Now, let's see what goes on in the rest of the video.
David Skidmore has served as a youth minister at the North Boulevard Church of Christ in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for, well, I want to say a couple of decades. He's been in youth ministry for a quarter of a century. And yet David is such a Renaissance man. You will see
our groups. I don't care how large your churches are. I don't care how long you've been in ministry. All of us are equipped with sacks of seed. And my challenge to you today is that you run, 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 and let's return the forest to their glory. May God be praised. Jeff, I'll turn it back to you.
David Skidmore, I am so thankful that Michael Jordan and LeBron James chose to play basketball. I'm thankful that Tony Fauci went into medicine. But most of all, I am thankful that you chose ministry. Thank you. What a fire hose of good stuff.
Now, you saw the
Thanks
Pepperdine
to some
logo
wonderful.
up. We started with the Pepperdine logo. Now, here is Jeff Walling. You need to know more about Jeff Walling. Who is this guy? What is his history? This is in the Nashville Jubilee. He has children at this particular point that would be in college, trying to choose a college today. Some of the individuals there, look how young they are when you look at them.
To work with these children, we want you to hear it and experience it before this lesson closes tonight. Cliff?
Jesus loves the little children, all the children together, black and white, together, black and white, inside. Jesus loves the little children of the world.
I want you to imagine a moment, a scene that we can only guess at. I want you to envision all the children of the world.
All the children of the world involved with Jeff Walling at Nashville Jubilee and Winterfest 2018 and 2023. Who's there? It's the crew, Jeff, Taylor, David Skidmore, Maxwell. These guys are running this thing. They're actually trying to get children, young people from east of the Mississippi to come over to Pepperdine or come over to Oklahoma Christian. You don't believe that these folk are involved with Oklahoma Christian in a big way? You are in the dark. Why would they be over in Nashville doing Nashville Jubilee? Why are they coming over to Gatlinburg? Don't you know? You know, this is like Frida Hardeman, Heritage, Mars Hill, Abilene's on the other side of the Mississippi River, so they're also involved with Pepperdine. Don't you realize that there are colleges over here? We don't need y'all over here. Oh, no. Jeff Walling, Pepperdine, Oklahoma Christian, Abilene, they want your kids, and they will come over here and be involved in east of the Mississippi, and David Shannon will actually help them because you know that they don't have a plan. They're going bust, having trouble. The money is not there. Why not get better teachers? Well, they hardly even teach Bible at the university anymore. I'm saying the Bible department is basically a joke. And so what are we doing here? Let's watch.
Who deserve to know about Jesus and are asking the question, who will tell them?
Every life, every beating heart has a searching soul inside. Ever needing, ever seeking out.
Johnny, please, you got to go back. I wasn't tuned in because I didn't know how bad this was going to get. Oh, yeah? See? The guy, Todd, says I'm a cult. Let me ask you this. If I can show you Todd running around with these individuals, and don't think I can't show you Todd running around with the people that run around with these people. And that's the thing. I am really not a bad guy. I'm an individual who is saying, God, I'm praying for these stiff-necked individuals and have mercy and grace towards them. And then I go out and try to help them see themselves. That's right. These are the people that David Shannon is bringing in to your realm. 2018, Stephen Maxwell. Who is Stephen Maxwell again? North Atlanta Church of Christ, big time band, women preachers. Don McLaughlin is the preacher. His daughter's woman preacher. On Pepperdine lectures. Steve Maxwell on Pepperdine lectures with acapella. Acapella running around all over the place in denominations, singing, doing their thing. And Taylor Walling, he's at North Richland Hills. Y'all wake up, North Richland Hills. Changed his name to the Hills. He and Rick Atchley are over there on the staff. So really, that's what's going on. That is what's going on. And so why are we so up in arms? Because we see this stuff and have been keeping up with it for years. And so let's get down to the next level. Well, Johnny, I'm really amazed that no one is doing anything. Well, here's David Shannon. He's on the lectureship, 12:30 p.m. I don't know if that's Monday. To me, it doesn't matter. It's 12:30 p.m., let's say on a Monday, or let's say on a Tuesday. That way I get it right one way or the other. And so who else is actually around at 12:15 to 1 when David Shannon is over at the probably the main auditorium at Freak? Well, I see somebody up here I recognize, Philip Jenkins. He's out at the Mid-South Youth Camp. What? Good. Philip Jenkins. You know, all the Jenkins, Dan Jenkins, Dale Jenkins, all these folk that have such a great name that they're stalwarts of the faith. Owen Freed Hardeman this year, Dan is. I don't know what Dale is or not. Philip is. Oh, good. Mid-South is in good shape. 12:15. Everything's going to be good. Why? Because Philip is out there. Well, guess what? At 1 p.m., same day, look at this. Look who else is out there. David Skidmore. What? David Skidmore? The guy who was featured by Jeff Walling as one of their youth ministers in the network, a fire hose of information. So glad he was made a minister. Jeff Walling holds him up to the high heavens and he uses him on Winterfest. And David Shannon brought our kids up. Man, David Shannon is bringing him to FHU this year. 2023, the Oregon crowd is at FHU. Listen, you need to be paying attention. Really paying attention. Philip Jenkins didn't say nothing. David Shannon didn't say anything. I'll tell you other individuals who didn't say anything. That would be stiff-necked people like B.J. Clark, Keith Mosier, Bill Sanders, Denny Petrillo, president of Bear Valley. These guys are not going to say anything. And why aren't they? Well, here's the reason they aren't. Can I give you some footage here? I hope that I can get through with this. I basically want you to be able to hear what men on the Bible program, Bible faculty, one was the president of the Bible Factory, the head Bible Factory, Bible department. His name is Earl Edwards. Now, let's get Earl Edwards right quick, 2-minute clip basically, and let's let him talk to a young preacher that is kind of just getting started, hadn't been going all that long, and he is talking to these individuals about their fellowship behavior.
Because like I said, we've been trying to inform brethren about this situation going on, which, we've been associating it with
Tom Childers,
with the
Earl Edwards over here to the side.
School, since it is Milton School, and another one is Jay Lockhart. He's several times, and I have it in here, of a lineup at Oklahoma Christian, where Jay Lockhart is there, where with Royce Money and different ones from Pepperdine. There.
I don't think your reasoning is good here when you say that you can't appear on a lectureship with somebody that has questionable stances, particularly when you have a fairly large lectureship. Now, if it's a school that's known that its general direction is just definitely wrong, then that's another thing. Oklahoma Christian, I've got a lot of questions about. I couldn't go there and be a Bible faculty member, but I would not say you have a fairly large lectureship. Now, if it's a school that's known that its general direction is just definitely wrong, then that's another thing. Oklahoma Christian, I've got a lot of questions about. I couldn't go there and be a Bible faculty member very probably now, but I would not say that automatically a person who goes and speaks on a lectureship there because Russ Money happens to be on the same lectureship is
you're going to start down a trail where there's never going to be an end, because what you're going to end up with is somebody else appears on a lectureship that you would probably accept, but then this person appears on it. So there's no ending on that.
Right.
What you've got to do is to look at each situation and not judge somebody by association. It's
Wait a
good by
minute.
association because
You mean to tell me that I can't judge David Shannon for being at Winterfest and inviting the other people to Winterfest when these known? He said if it's a college that's known, but known to be off, but not Oklahoma Christian. Can I insert Oklahoma Christian about right now? Oh, let me. I forget that not in my slide presentation. Give me a second. Let's see here. This is number 19. Okay, here's Oklahoma Christian. This is basically a newspaper article for Oklahoma Christian. Keynote speakers, Missy Robertson. Who is Missy Robertson? She's Duck Dynasty crowd. They got mechanical music? Sure they do. Phil Robertson, her father-in-law, is big time out on the internet trying to get that going. Jerry Rushford. Who's Jerry Rushford? Well, Jerry Rushford is the director, 32-year director, before Mike Cope came along, of Pepperdine Lectures. And Phil Brookman is the preacher at Memorial, where Stafford North was an elder before he died last year, and acapella is a regular there. And basically, he's saying, Oklahoma Christian, I don't think they're that bad. Really? Phil Brookman goes regularly to Pepperdine. And Jerry Rushford was the director of the Pepperdine Lectures. And Missy Robertson, she is so far out that there's no way you could possibly find her in a sound situation. So what are we talking about? How does this work? Well, here's another one, make me disappear. Never mind, I can see it. At the Edmond Church of Christ, where Phil Sanders, who's going to help us with David Skidmore out at FHU at Mid-South Camp? Well, Phil Sanders, he's there. He's not at the camp, but he's over at the college campus. It's just, 6-7 miles down to the camp. And couldn't Phil go down there and straighten this thing out? Because he knows that Phil Brookman he's back and forth with Pepperdine. It's not anything to see Phil Brookman at Pepperdine. It's not anything to see Phil Brookman on the OCU lectures. And yet, Edmond Church of Christ is having Phil Brookman over for whatever it is on a Wednesday night. It is our sister congregation, and it is basically an area-wide. And we're going to turn our kids over to Phil Brookman. Man, who in the world is running this ship? Well, these guys are basically telling us how to do it. I wouldn't go so far as to say that about Oklahoma Christian. Earl Edwards says, I probably couldn't be on the faculty now, but as far as being on the lectureship, you're going to get yourself in trouble, says Tom Childers. You're going to end up actually having somebody that you know that's going to be on one of those, and then what you're going to do, it's never anything. It's not ever anything for us. Listen, y'all, I used to be on a lectureship down in South Texas, just outside of Corpus Christi, and this started happening. They started bringing in individuals that I knew were actually involved with these kind of people. What did I do? Well, I was supposed to speak on the Holy Spirit, and I just changed my title. I just changed my lesson. And I talked about all the false teachers that were actually in the room and all the people that they were associating with. And what happened? They didn't ever invite you back. They invited me back. They shut down their lectureship in a couple of years too, because they basically said that we just cannot clean this stuff up. Why? Because Tom Childers and Earl Edwards, these guys are teaching Big F, Little F. I don't know. It's a book that I'm just going to skip it. They're basically talking about guilt by association, and you can't do that. You can. All of these guys. Caleb showed the other night, Phil Sanders used to teach guilt by association. If you're going to be involved with false teachers, you're going to be considered one of the false teachers. And B.J. Clark, he is in a book called What a Fellowship, 1992. He was teaching this. Mike Hickson, these guys all teach the same thing that I teach in their lifetime, but now they're basically trying to ruin that they're talking to.
lectureship every year, I'd have very definite. In fact, if they even went
Okay,
one time, as far
you
as
got to hear
I'd have
this. You're
questions.
going to run into trouble by what you're actually doing. Listen to what he says, who the untouchable are. Take a listen.
Here, I'd have very definite. In fact, if they even went one time,
There's no ending on that.
Right.
What you've got to do is to look at each situation and not judge somebody by association. It's guilt by association because they appear.
now, if somebody went to Pepperdine lectureship every year, I'd have very definite.
Association because they appear.
Now, if somebody went to Pepperdine lectureship every year, I'd have very definite. In fact, if they even went one time, as far out as it is, I'd have questions about it. As I told you, I told Ralph Gilmore I wouldn't go. He didn't go. And I was head of the Bible department.
I was head of the Bible department. And I told Ralph Gilmore, don't go to Pepperdine. Matter of fact, if a person was on Pepperdine even one time, as far out as they are, I wouldn't have anything to do with them. Hello? Pepperdine is at Freed-Hardeman. Who is it? Let's see. Bruce McClarty, in his bio, he talks about being at the Pepperdine lectures. Noah Whitlock, Pepperdine lectures. David Skidmore, he's so involved with Pepperdine that you ought to call his name David Pepperdine. These individuals are personalities, and I'm just stopping. You know, I could keep going with this. Individuals that are on the lectureship. Did I say Phil Sanders? Phil Sanders is not going to help anybody. They all go to Affirming the Faith over in Oklahoma City, and they mingle. It is basically a watering hole for people that go to all the lectureships. ACU, Oklahoma Christian, Abilene Christian, ACU, Oklahoma Christian, Faulkner people be over there, Pepperdine people be over there. It's just nothing new. And, you know, the trail basically leads right to FHU 2023. David Shannon is your man. Now, I want you to listen to these guys as they talk about actually who we're going to make the hero tonight. I got to do this quickly.
I'm just thinking about at large with the Brotherhood. You see Milton Sewell alongside with Royce Money, people are going to think, but Royce Money's not okay. And, you know, even and Milton Sewell has even admitted to us that he knows that Royce Money is not okay. But yet he is still saying that I'm going
When did you meet with Milton Sewell?
It was a couple weeks ago when he was in chapel. He spoke in chapel. And he's also spoke with my father on the phone.
What was his response to what you had to say?
Well, I was asking him about his role in the Christian Chronicle. If he was, in fact, trying to slow down the machine, you know, that's going on with the Christian Chronicle and their advertising of Jeff Wallen and Royce Money. Because, again, people are looking at Freed-Hardeman as a, sound foundation, Milton Sewell being a part of that, and it's just...
Don't look at Milton Sewell as having very much clout at Freed-Hardeman.
Okay, all right.
Don't be looking at Milton Sewell to have much clout at Freed-Hardeman. Ha, 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 ha. Childers and Edwards, how much clout do they have? Not much with me while they try to teach my son Big F, Little F fellowship. You can actually be with these individuals because you're in the body of Christ, and then you have this other level of fellowship where you're just with a particular group that you stay with, but we're all still in fellowship. Man, this is ridiculous, and it's pitiful that they're talking about Milton Sewell that way. And here's Earl Edwards just saying that a person from Pepperdine, if they've been to Pepperdine once, that's it. Well, look at this. Listen to Milton Sewell on Pepperdine. Jerry Rushford in particular, the guy who ran the lectureship. Take a listen.
But I'm taking a look at it now. Let's see. Mike O'Neill, David Burks. Yeah, that's it. Just Mike. Just the four. Let's see. There's 5 of y'all: David Burks, Harold Hazlett, Royce Money, and Mike O'Neill, along with yourself.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And so you do.
Those are the names. Now that you mentioned them, those are the ones that I remember. Yes.
So you do. You recognize, or would you? This is my perception of how things are today, and this is exactly what J. Lockhart said. He said that Freed-Hardeman's the last bastion. That's exact quote. The last bastion of faithful brethren, and that is pretty much the feeling amongst a segment. I certainly can't say the brotherhood because there's a whole larger brotherhood that doesn't look like that. But the brethren who think themselves to be sound, they all say Freed-Hardeman's our last chance, and he said that on the record. And then he was not complimentary at all of Royce Money and said that Royce Money was in fact responsible for the community church, infiltration of the community church, in that many of the preachers that graduated from Abilene under his watch were the ones starting up the community churches or changing them over to the community churches. And so, I mean, you can see, I would think, from that statement, you could see why I'm a bit perplexed.
Sure. Royce, I know Royce. I know him fairly well. He and I
By the way,
disagree
Royce
on
Money, the former president of Abilene, Abilene Christian, J. Lockhart attributed the upswing in the community church, which is North Richland Hills turned into the Hills. He attributes that to Royce Money's time as president at Abilene, bringing in women preachers and things of that nature. Continue to listen.
a lot of things. We are friends, but we disagree, and certainly he would not agree with things that I'm doing, and we've talked about that. And he's not as conservative as I am, and I'm not as liberal as he is. But the point that we were trying to make, I guess, in aligning our names, whatever we can do to get the gospel out to the world, and try to get it as best we can, we're for it. So,
but you see, that's just the where we're going. Where we're going in the brotherhood. I'm trying to feel out, who's really bothered. J. Lockhart seemed to be bothered that there is a move afoot. Stafford North said about the same thing that you said when I talked to him, not about this, but last year about using Jerry Rushford on the Oklahoma Christian lectures, and I would say his comments were just about the same as you just made about yourself and Royce Money. And but it is causing quite a stir that Jerry Rushford is now being included in the name list. That would be too far for you, would it not? I mean, 32-year director of Pepperdine.
Sure. I never allowed Jerry to come when I was president here. I don't want that quoted, but he really wanted to come and present here, but I would not allow it. He was just too far off.
Too far off the grid. Would not let Pepperdine, Jerry Rushford, be a part of it. He said he didn't want that quoted. This was an interview. He doesn't have editorial privileges in an interview that I'm doing with him. I have not used this a lot, but I'm just saying it fits right here. He kept Pepperdine off of the campus. Now, who's letting Pepperdine on? Well, let's have a little chuckle with Tom Childers and Earl Edwards. Well, Milton doesn't have that much clout, but Milton kept Pepperdine out when he was president. And so what about now? When David Shannon is president, what is Earl and Tom saying? Nothing. These guys are basically taking up for what they're doing out there. And so, y'all, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm going to give you a chance to look at some of the individuals. Let's see, as we go out here, I'm going to let you look at some of the people that are involved on these different lectureships. As I said a moment ago, Affirming the Faith is over in Oklahoma City as well. And I basically see Tim Piles. Tim Piles was on the last Tulsa Soul Winning Workshop. And so who all is on there? I'm going to have to pull out of this particular, let me see if I can do it. Let's see some of the other names here. Tim Piles, and I don't know if I have all the guys that I want to see. Stafford North, he was the elder over before he died at Memorial, and Cecil May Jr., and John D. Steiger. He is the president of Oklahoma Christian. And I could just keep going on this list of people that were on this. Let me just bring this forward right quick, and we'll look at some of the individuals that should not for sure be on there. You have Chris McCurley, Howard Norton, and this is a place where you can see Denny Petrello, Affirming the Faith. You can see the Jenkins at Affirming the Faith. See Ralph Gilmore over there. And then you see these individuals that go to Affirming the Faith that come over to the Memphis School of Preaching lectures. And so, folks, I'm just saying, is it the case that I am the bad guy in this? Todd, really and truly, should he actually be talking to me the way he's talking when I'm the one who is showing the information to you all? Noel Whitlock, remember we saw him a minute ago. We were talking about him. He's a Pepperdine speaker. And here's Denny Petrello's statement. I'm not in fellowship. Now listen, he's teaching the exact same thing that Earl Edwards and Tom Childers are. I'm not in fellowship with Pepperdine at any level. Yet using their definition, that's our definition, I am. After all, we use Stafford North. Stafford North teaches at OCU, and OCU uses a cappella. And a cappella performed at Pepperdine. Guess what? Denny You are at, let's see if we can work this out for you. You're now at Freed Hardeman, and they have Pepperdine speakers. Bruce McClarty. Anybody deny that Bruce McClarty is a Pepperdine speaker? Has it in his bio when he was president over at Harding. Anybody deny that Phil Brookman? Can you deny that Phil Brookman, the preacher at Memorial, was over at Edmond where Phil Sanders was? Can anybody deny that David Skidmore and Jeff Walling are together with Richmond Hill's Taylor Walling? Can you deny any of that? Or is it, let's see what he says here. He said, as he's writing this, thus Bear Valley is in fellowship with Pepperdine. Even typing that out shows me how unbelievably ridiculous this has come. Well, here's how ridiculous it is. Y'all's plan is turning into what it was designed to turn into, and that is all of y'all together, just like 1903 ended up with the split over the organ. Now, you got the organ players over there at Freed Hardeman, and you end up having a totally different church at the end of the day after the Newbern trial in, say, 15 or so years. Okay. Folks, your own, what does the Bible say? All I know to do is tell it like I see it. Caleb has a broadcast that has as much or more detail on it, put together better. I had 38 slides tonight working through the information to give you. And in the footage, can you deny David Skidmore is involved with Pepperdine? Can you deny that David Skidmore is a Winterfest guy? Can you deny that David Shannon is also a Winterfest fellow? I actually have another slide. Let me just take the time. I'm going to go over just a tad. I believe that I actually have a slide that shows the goings on at Winterfest this coming year. There's a Pepperdine lectureship advertisement, Phil Brookman, 2018. Let's see if I included that. I may not have. If I don't, you just went along with me for the ride. So we're basically going to be hitting next. We're going to be hitting Polishing the Pulpit. Look at their own 2019 brochure, Fellowship. If you're going over to PTP, they consider you to be in fellowship. How many of these Freed Harmony guys are going to go over there? And who's going to say anything? Guarantee you, we are. That's what we're here for. We're basically here to try to help the stiff-necked individuals who know better than what they're doing. So we'll see. You spread this information out. Basically, go to our YouTube channel, click on. If you don't know how, if you're an older person or a younger person and you don't know how, get someone to help you. It's just so easy. You just copy the address line, which is up at the top. You see this right here? This is the address line, and you copy that. Is that being seen? Up here in the blue, you just you cut and paste. It's Control-C, and then you put it on your Facebook, Control-V, and there it is. And you actually can tell all your friends that you're watching What Does the Bible Say, and particularly these editions. What was that again? That line up at the top is the address. You just put your cursor on it and just touch it and it turns blue. Control-C is copy. Control-V is paste. Copy and paste that address to your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever social media you're on, and tell friends, man, FHU. Man, 1903, the organ came to Henderson, Tennessee, and in 2023, the mechanical instrumental crowd, Pepperdine, came to Henderson, Tennessee. One big cycle. Hope that you'll make a change and hope that you'll help us out. I'm Johnny Robertson signing off. This is What Does the Bible Say? God bless you. Always ask for it. What does the Bible say? Good night.